justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right. So this meeting of the Conservation Commission is being held in person here. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. While an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. So members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance. All right, that was required. All right, so the first item on our agenda is to have a roll call to see who is officially here. Kent Moffett.
Here.
Sarah Walensky.
Here.
Larry Cohen.
Here.
And for the record, the chair, Bill Boyvan, is here. One or two others may show up, and we'll let them be formally introduced when they come. All right, next up is public comments. Is there anyone here in the room or online for something that is not on tonight's agenda? Lucy, I'm going to task you with looking for hands, please. Okay, so there seems to be no one, so we can now move on. Next up is item 3, approval of minutes. We had minutes of June 11th and not the 25th, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So, minutes of June 11th. Does anyone have any comments or corrections that are needed? If not, can I have a motion to approve the minutes of June 11th, 2026?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? 400. The minutes of June 25th are not available yet. So, item 4 is several certificates of compliance or completion. First, 11 Duncan Road, permitted as 102R Wynn Street for Sung Ho and In Ho Lee, DEP 122650.
Yes. So this is, let me make sure my microphone's closer. This is one of those administrative things that we've been seeing a lot of, where I have been finding people and old permits that need to be closed out. This one's an interesting one. In this situation, this project was, I think, what was permitted by this permit was overwritten by a later filing, 122-666. And so in the meeting preceding the meeting, where 122666 was issued or voted on, there was a discussion about, okay, so we should close 650 at the next meeting, we should close 666 at the next meeting and issue a COC for 650 because it's no longer needed. And then at the meeting where that all happened, closing out 650 never happened. It wasn't discussed, it didn't show up on the agenda, it didn't show up in the minutes, didn't exist. Meanwhile, we've had the request for the certificate in our files the whole time. And we found it, and so we decided, okay, let's just do it then, because we have the form all filled out. So we're suggesting that since it was for a project that didn't occur and was no longer needed, that we close it out. And that's what we have.
With the checkbox
Okay.
for invalid.
Yes.
Invalid order.
And there's no surety involved or anything like that? No. Okay. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the certificate of completion at 102 Wynn Street, DEP 122650.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? 400. Next up is the same at 145 Wilmington Road. BMC Builders, Kent Chisholm, DEP 122695.
Okay, well, I can remind everybody what this was. You issued an order of conditions for a single-family house back in about 23, I think it was. That involved quite a bit of clearing of vegetation. It was really, really overgrown, if anybody happens to remember that. So they had to keep a 20-foot no disturb with vegetation behind. They did some planting behind that no disturb. We went out and saw it the other day. I know that some shrubs got replanted there last fall because I saw them. They're not really very visible right now because it's just really overgrown. The house was built as designed. The chambers went in. We received photographic evidence that they went in where we expected. There was one tiny little bit of additional crushed stone at the rear of the house that we don't really have any concerns about. So staff would recommend that we issue the certificate of compliance and return full bond.
Okay.
Did you want to note the lawn clippings?
There was some lawn clippings just thrown back. It wasn't where the signs were, but it was back there in that kind of lush growth area. So I'm going to suggest that we'll just send an email to or a note or something with it just to remind them not to jump in there.
Okay.
Thank you. Good night.
This is a lot we visited yesterday. This one we had, looked like it was going to be a difficult lot to work with, but it turned out very nice. So, if there's no comments on this, can I have a motion to approve the certificate of compliance for 145 Wilmington Road, DEP 122695?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? 400. Next, item 4C. Thank you. 7 Abbott Park, also known as 51 to 53 Middlesex Turnpike, Burlington Gateway, DEP 122224.
That is the one that, just to remind everybody, you did go out and take a look at it. The plaza was built in the 90s. This is another one of those where we realized it just hadn't gotten closed out. We asked them to get some surveyed plans and get an engineer to verify that the basins were working as intended. He hasn't yet been able to find an engineer. So this one is just, he's asked us to postpone this one again until August.
So we are not issuing a compliance?
Correct.
Okay, so that one, so I need a vote to postpone till August.
Why not? Yes.
Motion to postpone.
Okay.
Second, anybody?
I'm not sure they do.
Second.
All in favor?
Yep.
400.
Thank you.
Next up is 0 Bedford Street.
Were you surprised it just came up so fast?
What's that?
Were you surprised it just came up so fast?
Yeah, I know, yeah, great. Moving right along here. Okay. Ready?
Good evening. Please introduce yourself for the
Good
record.
evening. For your records, my name is David Robinson. I'm a project manager at the civil engineering and land surveying firm Allen and Major Associates. We were not the original design engineers on this project, which started in 2009. But since we've done a lot of work with the MITRE Corporation, so they kind of use us for their civil engineer. So we're looking to close out an old order of conditions for a gravel access drive that previously accessed an antenna in a field at the MITRE Corporation. Basically, if you go to the packet that I had submitted, that kind of best represents it. That's the as-built plan, so it's not showing what the...
One moment.
Yep, I think it's easiest just to walk through. Basically, there is a gravel access path that is in both Bedford and Burlington. The MITRE Corporation is mostly in Bedford. All the buildings are located in Bedford, but there was a small portion in Burlington. They had a gravel path that accessed yeah, you can see right here, this is a snip of the original design plan. You can see the town line with Bedford on the left, Burlington on the right. That dashed line is the portion of the gravel path in Burlington. And then basically what happened is they relocated the Middlesex Turnpike. It happened to fall on top of the gravel path. So they relocated the gravel path due east, and then now it's entirely within Bedford. We did have orders in both Bedford and Burlington. Bedford was closed out, recorded, certificate of compliance and everything. The little piece that was left in Burlington was never closed out from 2010. So if you scroll down to the next two exhibits, I can kind of show you going back in time the aerials of the work being performed and then the work being wiped out. Basically, this is from June of 2010. You can see the gravel path on the right-hand side. There, just to the right of that cluster of trees, that red line is the running north-south is the town line. You can see the gravel path that was permitted, constructed, and then if you go to the next sheet, I believe it's from 2013 or 2014, you can see that they relocated the Middlesex Turnpike where the path was, and now the path on the left is entirely within the confines of the town of Bedford. So sort of a moot point since the work was wiped out, but MITRE Corporation did receive a notification from the Burlington Concom to close it out. They do want to close it out. So we're hoping that we can get approval for the work that's, no longer existing. I will also say we tried to record the original order from 2009, and we didn't. MITRE Corporation didn't have an original version. So we went to the registry. They turned us away. So I've been working with Eileen to get an original signature sheet signed by all of you, should you approve, and then we'll get that recorded at the same time as the certificate of compliance, should it be approved. So, kind of an interesting
Okay,
one.
yeah, that's an interesting one. Approving for something that no longer exists, it's now underneath the road. Okay, any comments over here? Okay, is there a,
It was moved.
Surety, is
It was
there-
moved, we're good.
was there surety at the
for this?
time?
Oh, that's a good question.
I'll do the first step here. Yeah,
It
Larry.
sounds like a lot of effort for something that doesn't exist.
Yes, I appreciate all your hassles.
Yep, I put it together, and MITRE just wanted to close it out because they don't want to have any open permits.
Right.
They're a really good client of ours, so
Put the bylaw in here.
we just said we'd handle it for them.
Well, that's what Lucy's doing for us there. She's going through all these things. looking for
I've
those
gotten a
things.
few of them. I've
Get
gotten
them
a few
out
of
of the
them.
cobwebs and get them done. So,
Yep.
thank you, Lucy. Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the certificate of compliance for 0 Bedford Street?
So, second?
All in favor? 400.
There may have been a bond for $1,000. It's written into the original permit. You can vote to release it, and we can see if we have it.
Okay. Can we,
Have it, it will be released.
It was so long ago, there's actually a pretty good chance that was an insurance bond. We'll check.
okay,
Can we make the
sure.
motion anyway?
Can I have a motion to release the bond for $1,000 for the 0 Bedford Street project, 122447?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? That's a 400. Thank you very much, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So you've got both the COC here and the signature sheet for the order of conditions.
Okay. An original with ink. That's what he wants. Okay, next up is going to be item 5, 11 Spring Valley Road. Come on up, please, and introduce yourself for the record.
How you doing? My name's Charles Bigelow, 11 Spring Valley Road.
Okay, you're up first in terms of describing what the project is and what you'd like to
Okay.
accomplish. Wait.
Legal ad?
Oh, I'm sorry, I have to officially open this hearing. You're absolutely right.
Oh,
Thank you. Lucy called it, not me.
Thank you. All right.
I was,
Notice is hereby given that the Town of Burlington Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting in the main hearing room tonight. As a courtesy to the public, this meeting will also be available via virtual on WebEx. See the agenda on the town webpage or the link. At this meeting, the Conservation Commission will act upon a request for determination of applicability filed by Erin and Charles Bigelow for construction of a deck and filling in of a staircase within bordering land subject to flooding at 11 Spring Valley Road in Burlington, Mass., and will thereafter issue a determination of applicability. The application is being heard pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetland Protection Act, and Burlington Bylaw, Article 14. A copy of this application can be obtained by emailing conservation@burlington.org. All right, now we're official.
all right.
So now, you're free to tell us what you would like to accomplish.
All right, I'd like to put a deck in the back of my house, which means I have to close off a doorway that's in my basement. It exits out, basically the whole doorway is on the ground, so kick out the door, fill in the foundation, waterproof it, and then there's a stairwell going out. I don't know if you guys have the pictures, but there's a stairwell going out. I just want to fill that in flat. And that's about it. 6 lolly columns to put the deck on.
And that stairwell would be under the deck that you're planning?
If I left it, it would be, probably 2 feet or something to get out. If you had wanted to crawl out or something, I don't know.
Okay,
And it's all caving in anyway, so.
all right. Eileen or Lucy?
okay, so yeah, this is another interesting one. We haven't really quite dealt with this either. when this came to me, I didn't really think it was filling floodplain, but it is removing storage. So therefore, I guess it is filling floodplain. The issue, the reason that it is in front of you is because this entire property is within bordering land subject to flooding. So by filling in that staircase, he is technically removing some floodplain storage. The question is what to do about it. I don't have any issue with the deck. It's just a few columns. That's just going to be definitely what you would generally consider de minimis filling. But I can understand why he wants to fill in this hole that's really no longer needed.
It's not, I don't know if you consider it storage, it would go in the door, the water got that, my whole
Into
basement would be
his house,
underwater.
That's true too. So it's not like it's a whole hole that.
Not like a hole in the middle of the yard.
So it's an interesting one, and I will leave it with you.
Okay. As Eileen mentioned, the entire yard is bordering land subject to flooding, and it's relatively flat. So, and then this is a hole in the yard that can contain water. So, Kent, what do you think about it? Should it be called, should it be require compensation, or is it de minimis?
Or something in between.
Or something in between, right?
I'm gonna say in between, but I'm interested in hearing what other people have to say. But I have, not for the bordering, the wetland, but I had a similar one in my house where like, we filled in and like didn't flood for like 10 years, and then like 2 years ago it did flood into the house. And the basin was like, these jobs, why they did it because the water table's so high.
Yeah.
And why they never put a top on it, I have no idea, but
Okay.
I'm interested in hearing what other people have to say.
Sarah?
I would consider it de minimis because it has no utility as flood storage. As you pointed out, if it filled with water, it would be disastrous for your home, so that's not something anybody wants. That's my opinion.
Okay. Larry?
I have one question for you. Does that area, during a heavy rain, do you sometimes get water into the house?
It does, because that's a dry well in that, and it's not covered. So if it's real heavy rain, the dry well will fill up and it'll seep in a little bit from the door. That doesn't like flood, a little bit.
Honestly, I see, first of all, I'll say this is de minimis. I don't see there's anything else you could do on a flat lawn easily. And I almost look at it, it's almost part of repairing the situation. You don't want water in your house. So I am, and because it's only 100 cubic feet at best, in addition to the columns, I'm in favor of calling it de minimis and just do the project.
Okay. I have one thing to add to that, and that was in discussion with you yesterday, you mentioned that underneath the balcony there, you're going to dig out and put in gravel.
Yeah, fill it up with-
So that gravel is somewhat of a compensation. That creates a little bit more storage in the gravel between the stones and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's de minimis and somewhat compensating. I don't think there's any other adjustments needed to preserve the storage area. In that case, let's go to the addition itself.
It's just a deck.
It's just a deck, right?
Yep.
But I mean,
Oh,
it's,
sorry.
I just want to see if we can have a discussion as whether it's, you have a picture of it or a plan?
Let me see.
I think it was
Are
just
you
a sketch.
talking about the columns?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, he's talking about the columns filling the floodplain.
No, I'm just talking about the construction that he's proposing. If there was no wetlands, we'd still discuss the construction.
But
So, it's just a patio on columns,
With gravel.
Yeah, a deck.
a deck,
It's all
right?
gravel.
It'll be about 3 feet in the air.
And you said how many columns? How m-
6, I think 6 12-inch columns, they make it put 12-inch columns. It'll be about 2 inches off of the ground.
It's all gravel underneath, right?
It will be.
It will be, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I think it's de minimis. I think with everybody else.
Okay.
I mean, I've had it in my own house. I can somewhat appreciate the fact that I think Bill said probably like it's just fixing something that really shouldn't have gone there in the first place.
Right, right.
Really just replacing, and if you're putting rock in that area to kind of under the deck, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
it's
Okay,
I would agree. I think it's de minimis.
thank you. Sarah?
Are we now talking about whether the columns constitute additional filling? Is that-
Just the construction itself, is there anything that we have any
I don't have
concerns
any
with at all?
concerns about that, no.
Okay.
I mean, those-
Larry,
those
any
little columns.
concerns? Okay, so in that case, this is a request for determination of applicability. Can
I drafted a determination.
Okay.
I didn't actually share it with Charlie. Sometimes we do, because I just wasn't sure how tonight was going to go, and I apologize, I totally forgot to print you out one. So when we share it, you'll be able to see it on the screen.
Okay.
We'll take our time, and if you have any questions, I tried to address kind of what we were saying. So let's just, I'm going to share now. Oh, is that doable?
Could he look at the copy that they're going to sign? Wow.
No, because we only provide the signature
Oh,
sheets.
got it,
for
okay.
this. So.
Oh, you're right,
It'll
sorry.
be, we'll take our time. If it's not clear, well, any clarity lack of clarity will be because sometimes the floodplain ones are tricky to write, and I may have written too much. But I figured better to be all-encompassing. Okay,
May have written too much.
well, you'll see.
we'll see.
The applicant proposed to build a 15-foot by 22-foot deck. That's correct, right? Dimensions?
Yep.
On 5 footings, you said it was actually 6.
Yeah, at 5, whatever on my drawing was, that's what I did the math to.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll say 5 footings. And fill in an existing stairwell below ground level to the rear of an existing single-family house. The work was located within bordering lands subject to flooding, which is also known as the 100-year floodplain or 1% annual chance of flooding. Then, findings are, the base elevation at the closest cross-section of Sawmill Brook is 125.5 feet. The elevation of the rear of the house was not surveyed, but the elevation of the frontage directly across the road is 123, and the terrain is very flat, so using the base flood elevation as a proxy for the elevation at the work location, it was estimated that the stairwell volume lost to storage would be approximately 90 cubic feet. The footings were not expected to fill BLSF. Now, if you think that's too much, given the fact that you all were happy with it, we could strike that column, that paragraph if you don't want it.
I'd rather not put like all that crushed stone against my house. That's going to introduce water to go back into that
Well, we haven't got there
area.
yet, and I was asking the.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, that's a good point, though. Bring it up when we get to it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mind that text being in there, but
Okay.
you should say that it was determined overall to be de minimis. That justifies what we're saying, right?
Oh, yeah, we haven't got there yet.
That comes later, okay?
Okay, the applicant agreed to install, I had said 6-inch deep, maybe you're okay with 4-inch deep, pad of crushed stone beneath the deck, which would offset by approximately 66 cubic feet the storage lost by filling the stairway. I just did the multiplication there, and I used the 0.4 multiplier, which is typical for,
Poor volume.
exactly. So if it was going to be 4 inches, then it would be smaller. I was just trying to encompass all the numbers. I think it is, I don't even think we need to say it there, but I think it could be just accepted that that pad could start a foot out, so that it's not right up against his house. You see what I'm saying? And
So how do you feel about that? Mr.
I was
Bigelow?
afraid to talk, because I told him I was speaking.
How do you feel about that?
Sorry.
The description of the stone, is there a way you'd like to see it modified?
I was just going to put, I don't know, whatever, 3/4 inch stone or, you usually see under decks, I don't know.
But you don't want it to go all the way to the house, you're saying?
Well, I'd rather not channel down 6 inches and create a depression against going to the house,
Yep.
I'd rather grade, because there's a sewer in the back, everything is graded to the back away from the house,
Yeah, right.
So I'd like to keep that grade.
Okay. I don't think
Well, yeah,
they,
you'd be digging down and then filling up. You can't go higher than the existing.
no, what he's saying is if
Right.
it digs down, that creates a hole for water to sit in up against his house.
But ending 1 foot before the house, does that not work for you?
Okay. Where does it say that here? But ending?
I just added it.
Oh,
I'm
just
sorry.
added it,
I just
yes.
added it. We were just talking about it.
Okay. So if we specify that you do not have to go all the way to the house, that you can
Yeah.
maintain something as a berm there against that?
Yeah.
Or
Great,
18
okay.
inches or something.
Yeah.
But we're providing some storage.
Okay.
While the storage provided would not meet the standards for incremental compensation under 310 CMR 1057A41, the Commission accepts that the amount of BLSF fill, flood displacement, would be de minimis. Additionally, the Commission finds that neither the deck nor stairwell filling will cause an increase nor will contribute incrementally to an increase. did I do an, yeah, to an increase in the horizontal extent and level of floodwaters during peak flows, the deck itself will be above the flood elevation. Okay, and then the rest of it's standard enough. We're just saying the commission is voting to issue a negative determination for this project only as described. Before you start work, you should install some erosion controls at the limit of work, so kind of just behind the deck. All construction, demolition, and excavated materials shall be disposed of off-site in a legal manner. No excavated soil shall be used on site. There should be no stock filling of soil or other materials. No tracking of sediments onto public roadways shall be allowed. If you get anything on the roadway, just sweep it. There should be no filling or grading of this property under this decision other than that described in the findings. All existing drainage patterns, flow directions shall be maintained. This project should not increase the rate or volume of runoff, nor cause flood or storm damage to abutters or the property of others. And the last two are just saying that the commission or their staff has the right to enter just to, while the project is ongoing, and non-compliance shall be deemed a violation of the Wetlands Protection Act. Most of these are very standard conditions.
Okay, any questions or concerns about that?
No?
Larry?
Yes. This is a completely flat lot. The deck's kind of going in the middle of the lot. It's not near the street. It's not near any property. Is it necessary, in those circumstances in the past, sometimes we have, depending on the nature of the project, and this is only columns, is it necessary to have erosion controls?
You're saying you don't think it's necessary?
Well, I guess I'm saying
Yeah, it may not be.
I don't think it's necessary.
All right.
It's not gonna be like machines coming in and out from the street. I'm doing everything by hand anyway.
Yeah, I know what Larry's saying, though. It's just.
Yeah, but would there be any stockpiling? Would you have a pile of dirt or a pile of stone sitting there? Or I'm more concerned about a pile of dirt, so no, I don't think so.
I'm gonna make piles in the backyard and someone's gonna come and grab it, and so there'll be some mess. I'll sweep it up.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can live without erosion controls.
Okay, let me remove that one. But do you want to specify a depth for that pad? Or was like even like at least 4 inches deep, something like that?
Yeah.
Or do you want to just, what do you want to say? I had said 6, but that might have been a bit too much for a deck.
4 inches is fine. If it ends up deeper, it's deeper, but that's fine.
All right, I have to
Everybody
change
think
that
that's okay?
number.
Yeah, all
That's a
right.
lot of stones.
A lot of rock.
What?
A lot of rock.
It's fine.
Well, we're more interested in the spaces between the rocks.
Hope you're not using.
It's like a work of art. It's the negative space that makes a difference.
It's a lot of rock.
The larger three-quarter stone has a higher pour volume too.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, put in the larger stone, not the fine stone.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right.
So we'll go 4 inches.
Yes.
I'll make some dirt barrier for the house and kind of shoot it all down there.
Correct. Sounds good. Okay. If there's no further comments here, I have a motion to accept the findings and determination for the RDA application at 11 Spring Valley Road.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? 400. Can I have-
Before we,
Yep,
sorry.
go ahead.
Before we move on to the next one, Lucy pointed out to me that we neglected to vote on the bond return for 145 Wilmington Road. So
Okay.
just get that before we get into
We
the
will
next
get back there.
Thank you.
Thought we did.
So he's all set.
Okay, so can I have a motion to issue a negative determination of applicability for 11 Spring Valley Road?
Oh, we had.
No, I approved the findings.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that was fine.
Sorry.
So,
Right.
to issue a negative determination of applicability.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, negative means there's no other work that needs to be done. Negative is positive in this case.
All right, thanks a lot.
Okay.
I can see the building department.
Yep.
All right, thank you, have a good night.
All right, so it's been pointed out to me that we forgot to vote on an issue on 145 Wilmington Road regarding the bond.
How much did you say it was again? 2,500? Thank you.
2,500.
2,500, please.
Okay. Do you have any concerns about returning the bond in its entirety?
I don't.
Okay, does anyone have any?
Did you announce these continues?
Oh, no, I didn't. They're posted anyways. Okay, may I have a motion to issue, to return the bond of $2,500 for 145 Wilmington Road?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All right, I should have started by announcing what we're not hearing tonight. Several items have been postponed till the next meeting. First is a continued public hearing, notice of intent for 129-131 Middlesex Turnpike, the Nordblum Company to construct multifamily residential buildings. DEP 122-737, they have requested a continuation to August 13th. Any concerns about that? May I have a motion to issue that continuance for 129-131 Middlesex Turnpike, DEP 122-737?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Here we go. Next one was the notice of intent for 8 Nelson Road. This one, the hearing had not yet been opened, so the way it's going to work here, we're going to open the hearing and then continue it to the next meeting all of these are at the request of the applicant. So notice is hereby given that the Town of Burlington Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing tonight in the main hearing room at Burlington Town Hall. As a courtesy to the public, the meeting is also accessible virtually via WebEx. The agenda on the town webpage contains the link. The purpose of the public hearing is to take all information relating to a notice of intent filed by 8 Nelson Road LLC for restoration and work ancillary to the demolition of dwelling and construction of new dwelling at 8 Nelson Road in Burlington. Proposed work would be within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland pursuant to the Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw Article 14. The Commission will review all information relative to this application and thereafter may issue an order of conditions and a Burlington wetland permit. The application itself may be viewed at burlington.org in the Conservation Commission website. Just as a reminder, we were at this site recently as a violation, and we decided to, as a group, not to issue a separate violation finding, but to carry it over to here, so the building permit and dealing with the correction of the violation will all be handled at once. But they've requested to postpone. So can I have a motion to issue a continuation for this article at 8 Nelson Road
So moved.
To what date?
to August 13th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? 400. For those watching, we only meet once a month, so the next meeting is in August. In the summer, we meet once a month. Next up is a continued public hearing. Oh, yeah, I wanted to ask about that. Since that house is completely outside of the buffer zone, and I think they're eager to get demolishing, and I've been questioned by a butter already. Do we make a decision on that, or is it the building department? Who makes a decision on the demolition permit?
Well, the building department does, but Lucy usually weighs in on that because because it's normally a stormwater permit.
My opinion, and I do this with almost every abbreviated stormwater permit, is I like to have the plans in hand before I sign off on a demo permit. In this case, because they're going to be waiting on the notice of intent, I know that they're waiting on getting the stormwater materials in. It's part of why they continued tonight. I am planning on letting them know if they can get me the plans. I'm happy to sign off on the demo. But their erosion controls are in place and it is outside of the buffer. So it's up to you guys how is it? Weird gray area.
It is outside the buffer, but you might want to mention the same thing was said about the basement thing.
Oh, yes, yeah, and a big reason why I do like to have, generally I like to have the stormwater permit in place before I issue a demo permit, or I approve a demo permit, is because a demo sometimes can involve taking a basement out, which is a lot of land disturbance. That, and sometimes folks don't tell me that they're going to make a giant house that would need to come in front of you guys and they cut down trees. So I like to know what's going to happen before I okay things.
Sure.
So I'm going to reach out to the applicant and figure out where they stand with that.
So I think our suggestion would be, if Lucy's okay with how the stormwater looks and with how much they're proposing to do in their demo, that you would defer to her on that and let it go ahead if she's comfortable with it. That would be our suggestion.
Okay.
Should we have a motion to allow staff to make that decision?
I don't know that you need well, okay.
Your gray area.
let's-
The usual statement, it never hurts.
It never hurts, okay. Let's do
Okay,
that.
so could I have a motion that will accept Lucy's authority to issue the, she likes that term. She's getting big head on that one. Lucy's authority to issue the demolition permit to recommendation to the building department if sufficient information is provided to her on the stormwater plan and the size of the house that's going in.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? 400. Okay, so the building permit will go on that one. And you said you'll notify the applicant?
Yep.
Good, okay. Thank you, Larry, for pointing that out. Next up, continued public hearing is being continued for 7A Street, American Maplewood Properties LLC, DEP 122-715.
Do we have to vote to continue 8? Do we have to vote to continue 8?
8 Nelson Road.
Public hearing?
We just voted on the, didn't we just vote on that? No, we just voted on
No,
the
we
permit.
voted
Okay.
on the permit.
Wow.
I,
On issuing Lucy's
Yep,
authority.
yep. May I have
So
a-
it's already, but not closing or continuing.
You have to continue.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
gave Lucy authority.
Yep.
Thank you for being on top of it over there. Thank you.
So back to that, 8 Nelson Road, can I have a motion to issue a continuance to August 13th for the proposal at 8 Nelson Road?
So moved.
All in favor? Now that one's completed. It's a good thing you guys are on covering me
I meant
tonight.
because Lucy and I weren't. That's what I meant, sorry.
So, now to the 7A Street, American Maplewood Properties, requesting to be continued to the next meeting on August 13th. Any problems or concerns from the staff, other than yet another continuation? Okay, can I have a motion to issue a continuance till August 13th for 7A Street, DEP 122-715?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? 400. And the last one is there is a public hearing for a notice of intent at 2 Wall Street.
We had already done that one.
Yep, I'm just going to make that clear. Crosspoint Associates, that is continuing till August 13th, but it was already voted on at the last meeting to go 2 meetings ahead, so we do not have to reiterate that vote. All right.
Okay.
Now, we can get actually back to some real stuff after all of that. Next up is a continued public hearing, notice of intent for 85 Wilmington Road. Applicant Mick Gandhi for construction of new commercial building, repaving, provide stormwater and utility improvements, DEP 122-734. Because that one made the last noise. Can we see the other boxes up there, the layout changed? You know how
yeah,
many-
I got
I
it.
can see it, yeah. Okay. Okay, good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
And identify yourself, please.
Absolutely. So I'm Andrew Tebow with Goddard Consulting. I'm the project's wetland scientist.
And I'm David Robinson, the civil engineer and land survey, or actually landscape architect with Allen and Major Associates.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you want to take the wheel here and tell us what's happened since the last meeting?
Absolutely. It's been a bit, so we'll run through our updates, what we've submitted, and where we go from here. So just to recap a bit, we were last with you, myself and David were both here at the April 9th Conservation Commission hearing. That was the introduction to this project. We discussed it in detail, and the commission left us with a comprehensive list of comments, which again, we thank you for. It's very helpful for us at those meetings. And then we continued things out. At that meeting, we noted that there were going to be some work and some changes with the planning board. So we had estimated there would be a delay. So that was a big reason why we've continued a few months while we worked on the conservation pieces. You would have noticed in this revised plan set that Building 2 has been removed from the project. That was a result of the planning board work, and that was a big reason why we had not come back to conservation sooner, is we didn't want to show you guys one site plan, come back, and then change it. So we wanted to wait until we were ready to have a discussion on what we were working on. So that, very little impact to what's in the conservation jurisdiction. Building 2 was outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. There was a small concrete path that was going to be part of it, but substantially it was just procedurally to work with planning board and come back to conservation. So big picture, what we did is we submitted you guys a full comprehensive comment response letter, revised site plan, an invasive species management plan, and a drainage report. It was dated June 18th. You received it on June 25th, so in advance of this meeting, but we were reviewing it internally before we had submitted it. And what that did is it started off with a comprehensive list of the comments we received from the commission. And And I went line by line addressing it. So big picture for tonight, I'm happy to walk through all the wetlands pieces, and then David will be here to discuss stormwater with the commission.
Okay.
So I'll keep everything high level and be conscious of your time. From a wetlands perspective, there was a few main comments. The first one is a very easy one. We discussed that to make sure all plantings within the landscaping plan were true natives. And so that was updated to be a full native plant palette on the plans.
Can we say that it was not?
I think it was just to verify was the comment. I don't believe it was,
The list the last list we got has like 4 variants still on there. It's got
Does
a
it?
statement in parentheses, pretty boy or whatever, and they all show,
we'll take a look at that then.
Yeah, to make-
The expectation was that that would be
please make sure
native. We'll make sure of that.
Yeah.
So we'll keep that comment on the table then.
all right.
The main one that we had from a wetlands perspective was to implement an invasive species management plan. We had a discussion that on the site walk, it was primarily around the rear of the building nearest the isolated wetland on the property that we noted quite a bit of invasive species, and it was an ask of the commission to take a look at what we could do out there for invasive species management.
Yep.
And so what we did is as part of the submittal, we attached a protocol for invasive species management as well as photos. And what that plan largely did is it recaps some of the conversation that we had at the first hearing. We talked a little bit about the health of the wetlands themselves. Thank you, this is an excellent graphic. We talked a little bit about the health of the wetlands themselves, but we didn't have a lot of conversation about the health of the buffer zones around them. And so this plan really broke down that with some photos that actual isolated wetland itself is very healthy. We had some photos. It's an area that sees some surface water in the spring, so it's relatively sparsely vegetated, but what is there is all native species. But once you get up into the upland portions of it, the first wooded portion around the isolated wetland, it's pretty sparse invasives. You see them sporadically throughout the forested area. There's quite a bit of native species, but once you get nearest to the gravel road, where there's sort of that transition zone from the forest to what's maintained around the buildings, it's very dense with invasives. The plan noted that it's heavily vegetated with, it's a lot of bittersweet, rose, barberry, a lot of your typical woody invasives. And so because this is in close proximity to the wetlands, we had protocols that are for hand removal only. We don't intend to do any herbicide work or any machine work over there. But we called out, recommended in the springtime when construction is taking place, to have a crew go back there and to manually remove the invasives from this area. And it's about a 6,200 square foot area within the buffer zone. So that was submitted as part of this, and then...
One at a time, can you say what that was, and then we'll discuss each item at a time?
Oh, absolutely.
I think that'll be helpful, rather than...
By all means, yeah, please stop me if you have questions. Let's start there, yeah.
Let's discuss that comment about how it's drawn and the invasive removal plan. Staff, do you have any comments on that?
My only comment on the invasive removal plan is that it's just really a one and done, is my note about that. So they'll go out and they'll do some removals, which is nice, and I'm not dissing it, but
No,
invasives, you kind of have to be on top of them, so that's, yeah, they're removing they have identified 4 or 5 sort of heavy hitters in terms of invasives. That was my main thing about the invasives plan. Did you have anything else?
That was what I had. I wrote all mechanical. Good. That's what I have.
Yeah, no described intent to return to repeat was my note.
Okay, any comments about the invasive management on that area?
If it is a one and done, how long do the effects persist generally?
It depends on the site, for sure. We typically see, at least for a few years ensuing, that things tend to look pretty good. Any invasive species management is usually a battle. Even if you do multi-years of invasives, you usually eventually see them come back, especially if it's in human disturbed areas. But we'll usually see, especially when we do one and dones for 2 to 3 years after the treatment, that the area looks very good. It helps a lot of the native species come back in. But we have seen things conditioned in the past to come back and do it a second time. That's been involved as well. So the one and done is meant to be a low impact. It's sort of an undisturbed area that we don't want to go in there and continually mess with and manage. But we want to, when we're doing construction in this area, we're nearby. So what typically occurs is they'll bring a dumpster towards their limit of work, and they'll really get in there and take everything out. They'll remove it from the site as part of it, and then get out of there and let nature take its course. So that was the intent of the plan. But certainly tonight we haven't been with you guys since April, so we're certainly here to take any more questions or concerns you guys have and make sure we can come back and address them.
Okay.
Bittersweet always wins, it's just.
It tends to.
Seems
Rose tends to do it too,
my
but
yard, I have some invasives, when I pull them up, they come back stronger next year, you know?
they get angry at you. when
And I
you do
may be
it.
pulling them up too late when the seeds are already on, I don't know, but that's gonna be a
The
bit.
plan says to do it, so in the fall, they go to seed, and it's a risk of spreading when we do it then, so we try to have the plan do it in the spring when we can identify everything and take it out.
Okay.
But the truth of the matter is it's more of a management than it is a guarantee of removal, but it's trying to help the buffer zone, at least as part of the project.
Okay, go ahead to your next item, please.
Yes, so the last component from a wetlands perspective, it's been discussed with Eileen a bit offline, but it has not been discussed with the Conservation Commission at a public hearing because it came up after our first hearing. I believe it first was noticed during a planning board site walk, but in the northwest corner of the property, right behind the proposed building as part of this project, it was noted that there was a pool of standing water. There were some cattails in the middle of it, and we were asked to take a look at it. So I submitted a full response back in the middle of June for the information we had so far. There's actually been more information now that's worth discussing tonight, but I will recap what I took a look at out there originally. That's what's in the materials the commission had received. So big picture, what we had summarized was that this site is under an ORAD, and we took a look at this area previously and identified no wetland resource area out there, which was confusing for us to hear that there was standing water out there. And so what I did is I took another look at it when we were taking a look at the invasive species areas, and there certainly is some standing water out there. There's some cattails in the center. So I did a lot of soil augering out there, trying to understand if this was groundwater fed, if this is an area that meets hydric soil criteria, or what was going on out here. And so what I found is if you measure out the areas that are cattail dominated in the center, that have some level of organic content to the soil that could be a hydric soil indicator, is about 140 square feet. The bylaws threshold for isolated wetlands was 500 square feet, so we had deemed that it was below for the areas that met the indicators. But I also took a very careful measurement where anywhere we saw wetland vegetation that was growing within that area, we measured that out and provided an additional calculation. They didn't have hydric soils beneath it, which is what was interesting to us.
It did or did not?
Did not.
Did not, okay.
So I measured out 390 square feet of land area that had some wetland plants in it, but the soil's subsurface went back to those typical browns and oranges that you see in oxidized upland soils. And so it was a bit of a head scratcher. So the determination that I originally made in June was just that there is water present, but it didn't meet the bylaws criteria for a resource area. However, following that, we had been talking a bit more about it offline, and what was a head scratcher to me was that the isolated wetland that's below this, that is down gradient and actually has groundwater source, has been bone dry since the spring, and this area in the uplands was holding some water. So Eileen was kind enough to look into this in the background for us, and we've been discussing it. So Eileen did a chlorine test in the water, and it tested positive for chlorine, which suggests drinking water leak, something like that. And so then we had the DPW take a look at it for, I believe it was fluoride, and it also tested positive for fluoride. So this pooling water that's on their property right there tested positive for both chlorine and fluoride, which the determination was that that's drinking water, and that that's not a groundwater source, it's not anything that's naturally occurring. And so we believe that there's a water leak going on out there right now.
And is there a pipe in the area?
There is. So there's a water line that actually comes right onto the property from Prouty Road right there. And so since then, I spoke actually with the applicant even as early as this morning. They have been talking to the DPW. The DPW gave them a list of recommended contractors who can take a look for leak detections, and they gave them the names, and he's contacted them. And we believe that there's people who are supposed to be coming out and taking a look at it. I was told end of this week, beginning of next week. So he's looking into it. But we have determined, since I submitted this opinion letter to the commission, that it's actually not naturally occurring at all, and it seems to be a groundwater leak that's leaving water behind the building over there. So it's a wetlands question because it was a jurisdiction question. Now it's just something for the property owner to make sure they look into.
Just to be clear, you said you measured 140 square feet that might be wetland. It is probably wetland.
If it was natural, there was 140 square feet that it was cattails inside, and because the water's been there for long enough, some of that topsoil was starting to decompose. So
Right.
there was a bit of organic material, 140 square feet.
And you mentioned a broader area of 390. Does that 390 include the cattails, or is that in
Yes.
addition to?
Including, so
The
it's.
whole thing, 390, is still less than 500 square feet if you just include the standing water.
Correct, and that was everything that had wetland vegetation, even if it didn't have hydrosoils, which to be a jurisdictional resource area would have to have both. But it was a careful measurement because we really wanted to figure out what was going on. So it didn't meet the criteria even if it was natural, but we've since found out that it seems to be a water leak.
Okay, and I'm sure you can understand that people who aren't looking forward to this project to see cattails and say, what the heck's going on?
Absolutely, and as a wetland scientist, we did too.
That spot would be, 20 feet from the proposed new construction, if that. So it would be.
Absolutely.
So that's a concern. We need to clearly define that.
Yes, and he's looking
Let's
into
talk
it.
about that issue. Eileen?
With that particular one, I'm just sharing I was looking at the utility plan, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and that little pipe, where's my finger? That I just had my cursor on right there. That's the little lateral pipe that I saw that is a water pipe that made me wonder, hey, maybe there's something going on here. And that's what led me to do some testing out there. And indeed, it turns out there's definitely drinking water, and that pipe is probably leaking.
Can you
So
show
that-
on there where that cattail patch is approximately? Just to put it in perspective,
You can change the base map if you, here, I'll drive.
just in case somebody's going to watch this, then let's see, put it in perspective.
That's fine. Lucy's just going to make it visible for you.
Yeah.
It's probably pretty much the end of that pipe.
It's almost spot on. It's right where that
There
area,
you go. That is better.
actually, it's right at the edge of the pipe. It's sort of that dark area that
Okay.
you see right at the edge of
Yep.
it.
Just
So,
the right
Where?
right there.
seems
Can you
likely.
wiggle the mouse where the cattails are?
Yeah.
Right there.
Oh, Lucy's got it.
It's truly right here, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly
And-
it would
right.
be like
and you see-
underneath the
and
building,
dark bit there
building
might be the
one.
standing water. You
No,
can
it's
see
not.
right there.
Yeah, it would be right.
There's no building.
Within, I believe it's either right adjacent to the footprint or right up to
The new building.
The new building.
The new building.
the new building, correct?
Sorry.
Okay, so that puts it in perspective for somebody watching, that this pipe does exist from the original plan, and the cattails exist, and the pond exists, the ponding exists, all right in the same vicinity. Okay,
Well, this was the town's utility plan that I saw it on
right.
initially. Anyway, so yeah, from staff, we would like to get to the bottom of that too. And if it's a water pipe, it really has to be addressed immediately. And we all have to determine whether we're comfortable with the determination that it's not a wetland.
okay. Let's talk about this down the line here. Larry?
This, whether we assert jurisdiction over this as an isolated wetland, 500 square feet or greater, has significant impact on the project, because you're putting your building right in the corner there. Otherwise, we're asserting a 50-foot jurisdiction. And I'm just wondering whether a smart move here is, the question that comes in my mind is, I'm not convinced that some amount of that wetland is occurring naturally, and some amount is probably being helped along by that hydrology. I don't know what the balance is from either. There's no way to really determine it. But I'm thinking that this might be a case where we should have a peer review of this very specific focused issue, have someone render an opinion and give the way that works is, under our bylaw, on select issues that are controversial and things or we need a clarification on or another opinion on, we ask for a peer review, very focused, where there's a couple of specific questions being asked, and we ask the applicant to hire somebody to take a look at it. In this particular situation, the question that comes to my mind is, if the pipe is fixed, will that area thrive as a wetland? Or, even though I know it's hydric, I'd like to have that confirmed as well. Will it prevail as a wetland? Or essentially, does the area dry up and it's a completely non-issue once that moisture is gone? And I really would like to have an opinion from somebody that's independent on that, what it is. I really don't know which way that answer goes.
I think
So-
it's a fair question, and all I can give you is my opinion tonight, of course. From what I've seen out there, because we delineated this property during the ANRAD process and identified nothing over there, and it was reviewed at that time. It seems that this water is occurring as a result of this leak. I also think that it might be difficult to answer that until it's resolved or fixed, because it's tough to say. So it sounds like, at least from what I understand with talking to the applicant, is they want to jump right on this. These water leaks can cost them money too if it's their line. So they want to look into this and figure it out. it may be worth looking into that and then seeing if this water goes away, because our expectation is that because it has both chlorine and fluoride in it, that it's not natural. That wouldn't be occurring in the groundwater.
Right.
So it is coming from that pipe, at least in a capacity that's supporting.
In other words,
surface
in the
water.
absence of that pipe leaking, is the topography out there and the nature of it sufficient to support a wet environment, or does the whole thing dry up? Which, from what you're saying, if I take exactly at face value, and I'm not dismissing it, what you're saying.
No, of
at all,
course.
Okay, that if it's not hydric soil under 2/3 of the potential wetlands plants there, then that would perhaps tell you that maybe the pipe is contributing enough to hydrate some wetlands, but it's not enough to cause it to meet the definition of a wetland.
My thoughts exactly, and that may not be able to be determined until the leak is caught and fixed. Because regardless, from this recent testing, we know that there is water leaking. So if I had to make a suggestion just from our side of things, I would say that we should have this looked into and fixed and keep an eye on it, because at the end of the day, we plan on continuing tonight's meeting and making sure they keep working with planning, keep working with conservation, so we could continue that and resolve this, and then take a look at it.
I mean, honestly, the answer may be very self-obvious, because by the time we have a month goes by, and if you happen to fix the pipe fairly quickly, we may find the whole thing dries up.
And that's what I'm thinking.
That's what
is,
happens.
This time
rather
of
than
year,
subject to a peer review.
Dry up pretty quickly this time of year, I would think. if
And that's
the source was
the reason why I
completely
tell you that I don't believe that this is groundwater fed at all, is it's at a higher elevation. So it's basically within the flat maintained area that's all the way from the building to that gravel path. There's no major topography dips minus the little bit of pooling that's micro. But it's at a higher elevation than the wetlands that are immediately behind it. And those have been bone dry. And when I say bone dry, if you auger into them, there's no groundwater within the top 10 inches.
Yeah.
It seems like there's no hydrology to support that beyond the continued water that's coming in. But of course, it's an opinion.
Okay. So,
When I was out there, I used my trusty app, which probably gets things wrong, okay? And I saw a giant goldenrod, which is FAC wet.
Yep.
I saw St. John's wort, which can, depending on the species, can be anything from upland to wetland.
Yep.
I found alder buckthorn, which is FAC wet, which means it exists mostly reliably as a wetland indicator. Something called tall coreopsis.
I'm curious what the app gave you on that one. So far, I'm tracking with these.
It's facultated, it occurs in both.
Yep.
And another one I've never heard of called swamp tickweed, which thrives in swampy, poorly drained soil. So, yes, there's wetlands plants there, but if there's any doubt, it must meet the criteria for hydric soils as well forming, is that correct?
Correct. It has to meet both.
Okay, so that, it may not be, but that's what we have.
a couple of points I'd like to make on what Larry said about it drying up and the source being possible, the drinking water supply. I did notice, looking at the pond, there's a little stream like connecting it, and actually there is water running. You can see the flow that is going. So the flow is coming from somewhere, and it's not coming, as you suggested, from the other verified wetland, because it's down level and dry. But that raises the question then, if we cut off that water supply and it dries up, well, the other wetland is dry, so being dry alone would not say that this is not wetland. The other one is dry, and it is a wetland from plants.
This is true, but the other one has hydric soils.
It
And
has
that's the reason, as you can tell, that it's groundwater fed from the soil. So it may be a combination of seeing if it dries up and giving you guys soil data. That may be the helpful distinction
Yes.
between the two, which is absolutely could be done.
Okay. Sarah, any comments on this twist?
So you're proposing that water pipe has been hemorrhaging water into the soil so long that it had time to make a wetland? That seems just like so crazy. Why did nobody notice their bills astronomical? I mean, because water wants to soak into the earth pretty quick. That seems surprising. I mean, could there be another explanation, like some sort of strange little artesian spring? I don't know enough to know whether that's possible. It seems to me also, the real thing that sticks out in my mind is 390 is, with error bars, kind of close to 500. It seems to me to be dicey enough that I would really like somebody who has absolutely no axe to grind to weigh in. That's just my angle, that like if it's going to be this controversial, I mean, we have people coming to us saying, we know this is a wetland, and they're very upset. if it looks at all like somebody with a vested interest said, don't worry, it's not a wetland, I don't think that's going to fly. I think we might need some other party to come in and make the final decision. It's just my opinion.
And the reason nobody may have noticed, Sarah, I guess it depends where the meter is.
I guess so.
That's exactly what I was going to say is,
Yeah.
because that water is under pressure, which is why you would see it moving if it's spinning. It's a very interesting thing, but
It is.
the presence of chlorine and fluoride is what we're sort of hung up on, and we know it's at least coming from something.
Would the presence of chlorine and fluoride have killed the cattails?
Not in the concentrations. I mean, that's
Okay.
that's more a chemistry question, but not in the concentrations that they're.
suppose if it was that toxic,
it's drinking water, so
We wouldn't be
it's
drinking
Drinking
it.
water.
Yeah, we wouldn't be drinking it.
exactly. Yeah, it's low concentrations.
Okay. Okay, is it possible that the cattails were there before the leak? Is it probable?
In my opinion, it's not.
Soils?
It's not probable in my opinion, but I cannot tell you it's impossible. There's always a possibility, and there's a catch basin in the road there, and there's some low elevations between. It's also possible there's seed banks in the area just from drainage, and they can move in pretty quickly. So I would tell you I don't think that it's probable, but I won't tell you that it's impossible.
So it's possible that those cattails could spring up in a year from leakage?
They can. They're an emergent plant. They move very, very quickly.
Okay. Kent?
No, I mean, I agree. It's a interesting where a building's going to go. So I think it is a determination of if it is or not. But I think the major thing is, like as you guys said, to figure out where the water leak's coming from. But that's kind of been Sarah's point. It is interesting that much water has come out without somebody noticing on the property. But yeah, I agree. I think it is good to get somebody, like, there's a good point to bring up. I think it's good to have somebody else maybe weigh in that doesn't have like a vested interest to kind of, once the data is available, and come in and take a look at it to provide a determination, because I think that'll, not appease, but I think that'll help I think it's in everybody's best interest.
I think it's important to convince the abutters that the decision is fair. I
Yes.
think
And we
that's
understand it's a very unique situation, so I understand what we're looking at here.
What about this for a way to move forward? What if we table this, hope the water pipe gets fixed, and a month from now do another site visit, see what it looks like? If it's bone dry and we're convinced another surveyor isn't necessary, does that sound like a fair way to handle it? Or would we rather just do it and be sure?
It depends on how fast he's going to move on getting that done. If the pipe is just going to be sitting there this whole time, and it was just a month delay when he could move the project along by having someone with an opinion on it. That we don't know. When he's online, he could.
He is, and if he wants to give an opinion, I'll certainly let him. I would say, from talking with him, it sounded like he wants to get somebody right on this, so my read is that they want to look at this. It's going to affect the review of his project, so it's important to jump right on. So I would expect that the solution that you just offered is a good one for us to jump right on it, come back in August, and I'm happy to take you guys out there and take a look. We can do soil augering and take a look at
Yeah,
this.
that would-
Certainly,
sure.
we're open to accommodating anything we can do to review it. It's a very unique situation.
Okay. And I'm sure Mr. Gandhi is motivated to get this resolved.
Yes, I think regardless of whether he's seen it in his water bill yet, it's not ideal for him to be having this occurring on his property, so he's motivated.
Okay.
Just curious, I mean, I know what peer review means in other, but I've not been as long as you guys, so what is it? Would be-
I haven't seen one since I've been.
No, I just
Larry
curious.
has.
I mean,
A peer review is generally, the way it works is we draft a paragraph, a scope describing the issue. And then we have very specific questions that we would like an independent contractor to answer, and assuming the wetlands are still there when we come out in August, obviously. And we then send the draft, this is paid for by the proponent, so in the interest of moving the project along, and we send the draft to you folks, and his team will look at it and see if they have anything to add or whatever. But it's usually considered highly focused. It's not, I've seen a few of these where there's a complete project review and a peer review, but that's not the normal. Normally, it's a very focused thing with 2, 3, 4 questions or something like that after the introduction of the issue.
And there is specific text in our bylaw that says peer reviews are called for when necessary. It describes how they get funded. We actually, the applicant actually pays for it, we accept the money, it gets put into an account, and all that is set up in the bylaw as how it should be handled. So it's not going to be something that hasn't been thought of and a procedure in place.
They essentially are working on behalf of the commission, although the proponent would normally pay for it.
One question I would have, Larry, is who selects the wetland scientist to do it? Would it be the applicant? Would it be the commission?
It would often be, we would give them 2, 3, 4 potential sometimes, and they can pick from one of them, something.
The applicant would pick, or?
Normally, if we would give them 2, 3, or 4 potential consultants to do it, and he can look at them and can give it to them, and you'll get
Okay.
prices, and you can pick one.
Okay.
I mean, it could be any number of ways. I mean, but I don't think we want to be necessarily in the position of specifying you must use these people.
Right,
We
right.
don't, town normally avoids doing that.
Okay. And then also the way it works is the applicant would pay in advance, it would go into the fund, and then the bill would be paid. Anything left over, of course, would go back to the applicant. But it is paid in advance. Okay, I covered that topic pretty thoroughly, I think. I
think so.
Didn't resolve everything, but we understand it a lot better, so thank you.
No, and we didn't expect it to because we know that it hasn't been looked at by the contractors yet, so we actually should have more information that we can ideally pass on very soon, too.
Yeah, please do, so we have it in our hand.
By all
And
means.
again, my biggest concern is the abutters, and you've been there, you see all the signs protesting this project on the street. I want to make sure that any decision we make is defendable and clear.
We understand, that's your job, we understand,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, next on your list.
Yes, and next is stormwater updates, because they've made some improvements to the project, so that'll be David to share with you guys.
Okay, David, take it away.
Thank you very much. Again, David Robinson, Allen and Major Associates. I'll just go over some of the high-level changes on the site plan and then get into the responses to the stormwater comments from the April hearing. As Andrew mentioned, the big item was removing Building B along Wilmington Road. The size and location of Building A did not change. We added 23 parking spaces to propose 140 total spaces. There were some concerns about not enough parking at the planning board hearings. We had 117 before. This resulted in an increase of impervious area of 1,250 square feet. So to mitigate that increase, we added 15 chambers, the same type of Coltech chambers, to the underground infiltration system. Additionally, there was a comment last time about routing the Building 2 stormwater directly to the underground infiltration system. Obviously, that's a moot point now that that building has been taken care
Can I
of.
stop you there so we can comment on something?
Yeah.
How does removing the second building increase impervious area?
Because there's more parking. There's 23 extra spaces.
But the
And
building
the other
is
building was
impervious.
small. It was only about 3,000 square
The
feet.
building was impervious, and now you're replacing with parking, which is impervious, right?
Right, but we're eating in a little bit further into the landscape island.
Okay, okay.
The parking intrudes into the landscape by about 1,200 square feet additionally. So it's the spaces offset and increase the impervious
All right,
by a little bit. We added 15 chambers to the drainage system. We also provided a snow storage plan, which was one of the comments. I can just kind of go through them here quickly. There was a comment previously that the 100-year volume discharging to the municipal stormwater system was over by a little bit. By adding those 15 chambers, we were able to make those numbers work. So now there's a slight reduction in the volume to the municipal system for the stormwater. We also revised the groundwater mounting analysis. If you remember back at the April meeting, I spent a considerable amount of time going through that analysis. We need to maintain the 2 feet of vertical separation at the end of 4 days' time for the mounting analysis. That still works with the addition of the chambers.
All right, that's the point we want to discuss, because again, it was something, I've been here 12 or 13 years, I've never seen a mounding analysis.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, I want to learn about it, and I think several of us had questions about it.
Sure.
Let me start over with staff.
Okay. Maybe I opened up the wrong thing, but I didn't see a new mounding analysis. I
Yep.
thought it was the same thing,
It's on.
same numbers.
No, it's very close. There's only like an inch difference. But
Is it this,
that's
Ferrari?
it. Yep, that's it.
Okay.
So previously, the height of the,
is what we have on
Current.
the drive, this is to her.
Oh.
Eileen, what we have on the drive, is that the latest?
Yes.
Okay.
so it's very similar. It's the same exact output. You would think that they were the same, but there's a very slight difference. The mound actually grew by about 1 inch, but it's still underneath the 2-foot mark. So previously, we had a mound height of 1.8 feet and change. Now it's 1.97. So very slight difference, but still underneath
No, no, we need the.
2 foot. If you scroll
That
down,
is at the 4-day point?
that's after
That's
4
the end of
days.
the- That's the end of the green line on this.
That's the end of the-
Under 2.
The idea is the end of the green line needs to be underneath the red line, and it just makes it.
What is the system invert? Is that the bottom of the chamber?
The system invert is the bottom of the stone.
Bottom of the
So
stone?
it goes
Okay, okay.
stone, chamber, cover, pavement. So we did update that. We did go through the, update the peak flow numbers.
I have a question about.
Sure, yeah.
I still have more questions.
Oh, sorry, I apologize. Sorry.
The, I thought I thought it was exactly the same thing because the volume is the same. So you didn't change the bottom area, even though you've now got more chambers, right?
Bottom area is the same. I'll have to look at the old one.
So I was just, unless I miss it.
And that would be conservative, right? Because the bigger the system is, the more it's going to go down into the ground. So if those are the same, we added 15 chambers. That might have been an oversight, but you're being conservative because we're not taking the benefit of the full actual footprint. No, our previous one was 6,199 square feet for the bottom area, 6199. New one, 6624.
Okay. Let me see, hang on, just 1 second. I had a couple of questions about this, and it doesn't mean it's wrong, we're having a
Yep.
hard time getting our heads.
No,
around this.
completely understood, but those are two different numbers between the March submittal and the June submittal.
Can you explain to me
Yep.
and to the commission, and they might have the same question?
Sure.
And you can wait, you can just take a note of this question if you want. The part there where it says the difference between the seasonal high groundwater and the aquifer base see below, which one of those choices below makes it 3.5? Was it test pit elevation minus all the
Yeah,
proposals?
correct. It would be, so the saturated thickness is basically, here we go. The base of the aquifer. So the aquifer base is one of these values. Test pit or boring surface elevation minus depth to bedrock. So the bedrock is the aquiclude. So above that is the aquifer. Test pit or boring.
How do you know what, when you hit bedrock? Or are you saying because it didn't say that on the Form 11s, did you go all the way down to refusal when you were digging?
That I don't know, but there's 4 options. So there's bedrock, there's a clay layer. I know what it would be. It's the test pit surface elevation minus depth to the elevation of hard pan or dense till. So that would be the C layer for the test pits. So kind of once you hit that dense material, we're calling that the top of the aquifer, basically, or the bottom of the aquifer.
The bottom of the aquifer?
Yeah,
Got it.
so
Okay.
it could be like, it's a hard material in the ground. So it could be bedrock, it could be, like a clay layer that's almost impervious, or in this case, I believe it was the dense till, or hard pan. So that's the top of the sea horizon when you're doing test pits.
Okay, I think that actually makes a difference to me. Connected to that, but not directly, but before we move on to Bill and anybody else's questions. Initially, you had said that you would raise the weir to prevent, so that less water would go to the MS4. Are you saying you didn't have to do that because you actually, by increasing the volume of the chambers, that became unnecessary?
That's how we solved it. And also, it was sort of 2 birds with 1 stone because we increased the impervious when we added the parking, so we needed to add the chambers anyways.
Okay, I think I'm good for now.
All right, Larry?
Thank you. Now, the way, let me see if I don't do these calculations regularly. I don't do these calculations actually at all. So let me see if I have the right interpretation of this.
Sure.
And then I'd like to make some comments.
Sure.
The groundwater, seasonally high groundwater is at 115.47. Okay?
Yep.
And the bottom of the stone is at 117.5.
Yep.
So therefore, you meet the standard that we typically use of 2 feet.
Right, but we're less than 4 feet. So you need,
The mounding analysis.
Yeah.
No, I know that.
yeah.
Okay, and the separation distance is 2 feet.
All right, I don't know that. If we have the 2 feet, explain the 4 feet again?
So you always need to maintain at least 2 feet of separation.
Right.
If you maintain less than 4 feet of separation, you need to do a mounding analysis to make sure that it doesn't go up that 2 feet and above. And there always needs to be 2 feet of separation. If you're less than 4, you need to do a mounding analysis to check that you're not mounding the 2 feet into the system, basically.
You said, so the system is not flooding out during a major storm.
Well, my hesitation here is because, I mean, we see residential stuff all the time where they have to raise the house. Is this not for residential? Because they're raising the house to just barely get the 2 feet of clearance, but we don't see mounting
We generally
it.
don't ask for that in the residential one, because you're talking about like 8 chambers or something, and this is 200.
Yeah, the bigger the system, the bigger the mound. I can tell you, like, for an 8-chamber system, it's going to be like 1 or 2 inches.
Okay.
This is really, you really only see it on very large systems.
Okay, because we often see less than 4 feet. We see the
Yep.
2 feet and we go, okay, you got the 2.5 or whatever.
Yep,
We
and
just think it's
It's
over.
de minimis in a sense there, yeah, okay.
again,
Yeah,
yeah, if it's 8 chambers, you're going to have like a 1 or 2 inch.
okay, thank you.
So what this graph is showing, it's a 4-day history. And what it's showing is that you start out with 2 feet, and then you have a 24-hour, 100-year storm. And then what it shows by the green line is that the water level rises, as you'd expect, rise, and then over 4 days, it recedes. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, so I think I understood that.
that's exactly right.
Okay, so that part is right. So what it appears is that after 4 days, you're right at the bottom of the stone.
Yep.
So, and it also appears that at the end of 1 day, which is the peak here, you're showing that the mound reaches through the stone, it's filling up with water, and 1 inch into the unit itself, 1 or 2 inches.
Yeah.
That's what you're showing. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So effectively, doesn't that reduce the volume available for stormwater if you're trying to infiltrate?
Well, there's also an overflow to the municipal system. Right, so, I mean, it's designed for the system to fill up. And if it fills up too high, it's going to overtop the weir and go into the municipal system. But the way that the Mass DEP regs are written is that you only analyze the storm after 4 days from the elevation of the mound after 4 days from the start of the storm.
So the goal of this mounding analysis typically to show that the mound does not intersect the system invert.
At the end of the drawdown, you're allowed
At the end of the drawdown.
Yep.
At the peak it does, right? At the peak of this graph, it does intercept
Yes.
the invert, yeah. It actually fills
Yeah,
into
it
the
goes
chamber
into
itself.
it goes into the stone.
So if the mound touches the invert, doesn't this mean it's a potential failure point for the infiltration system?
I wouldn't think so. The infiltration system is designed to fill up with water, whether it's mounded or or not. I mean, and there's also extra volume of the water.
I mean, the
underneath.
system can't function as infiltration if it's filling with water.
Well, we have the emergency overflow, and it drains down as it's filling up. The way it's, the idea of it is that you have a 24-hour period for a storm. It comes in, it fills up. Then you have a 72-hour drawdown period for that infiltration to
Right.
draw down.
Right.
And it needs to draw down in that 72-hour period to prepare for the next storm. Whether the mound goes into it or not, remember, you got 2 feet of separation between the groundwater table and the bottom of the system as well.
For what storm is this calculated? 100-year, or what storm is it this typically
That's a
done?
good question. It's typically the 100-year storm.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Can I clarify? Just to say, so the invert on the mounting analysis is the bottom of the stones, the
Yeah.
bottom of the whole system.
Yeah.
So the system exists and has chambers in it to be full of water. So we expect it to go above the interface there. Like that's normal. And that's why we have like on our residential ones, why we have the overflow spouts that like pop out at the thing, like the pop-up filters, or not filters, pop-up emitters. So essentially, the pop-up emitter for this is to overflow into the municipal system. But if no water went up past the stone, there would be no good reason for the system to exist other than the fact that like it's creating space between the parking lot and the ground. So like we have the chambers in there to be full of water.
Well, that's the point
Yeah.
I agree with. I thought the stormwater standards generally require that the infiltration system must drain half of their volume in 72 hours. That's what I thought. So the graph is showing the mound is still receding at 96 hours. So it suggests that the drawdown is occurring slower than the standard expectation. Am I correct on that?
No. The actual drawdown for the system is only 4 hours time. And the drawdown is not the full volume of the system. It's only what's below the lowest outlet out to the municipal. Because once it hits that lowest outlet, it starts to go out to the street. And so the only infiltration, the volume that you're trying to infiltrate is the volume below the lowest outlet, which is...
So let me ask something.
Sure, yeah.
You can't answer this. Has the town engineer looked at this at all yet?
Gage looked at it.
What?
Gage,
Yeah.
one of the engineers, had a look at it, and he didn't, it's not really his forte either, but as I said to, I think it was Bill earlier, he's a lot closer to being, to have training than we are. He didn't have any particular issues with the numbers.
Yeah, we did get a review by Gage Moran in the engineering department. He did not comment on the mounding analysis or really the drainage at all. It was more utility focused.
I specifically asked him about the mounding analysis,
Okay.
just because
I-
we're not that familiar.
Yeah.
And I thought, as I said, being a relatively recent grad, he might be more familiar.
I don't think he had any comments on it from what I recall.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Has the HydroCAD calculations for storage volume been adjusted for the fact that you cannot count the volume occupied by the mound as available storage?
Well, the mound is what's going into the system, right? So that we've taken into account what's going into the system, whether it's mounded or not. The volume in is part of the mound.
But all I'm saying is, I'm looking at it simply. If you have a box and it's half filled with,
Yep.
partially filled with water.
Yep.
And you're doing a calculation for storage volume,
Yep.
did your calculations account for the fact that you can't account the volume that's already occupied? by the
Yes,
mound?
yeah. That's a principal element of HydroCAD. It's called stage storage. It looks at the volume as it goes up at every...
So you're saying you did do that?
Oh, yes.
Is that explained in this table?
No, because it's less about the storage and more about the infiltration rate and the elevation of the mound at the end of the 4 days. But HydroCAD absolutely takes into account the fact that it fills up with water and there is less available volume in the system.
So does this 96-hour recovery that you're showing, does that meet the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook? I know I've asked it, but have you explained how it meets it anywhere in your submittal so far?
How it meets it?
The 72-hour drawdown.
Well, yes, we did provide 72-hour drawdown calculations under our Mass DEP standard calcs. That's different than the mounding analysis.
Okay.
The drawdown calcs basically take into account the infiltration rate of the soils, which is determined when you do the test pits in inches per hour, the bottom area of the system, which is the area that it's drawing down under, and then the infiltration volume, which is the volume below the lowest outlet in HydroCAD. And again, our drawdown time for this, because they're pretty good sandy soils, is 2.41 hours. Because there's relatively shallow vertically chambers with a large footprint, which is great for drawdown.
All right.
So yeah, sort of two different things. There's the Mass DEP standard for 72-hour drawdown, which you always need to look at. Then there's also additionally the mounding analysis, which you only need to look at if there's less than 4 feet vertical
Right, I know that.
separation. Yeah.
See, I didn't see any text, that former thing you talked about, how it meets the 72-hour drawdown. I didn't see any text anywhere.
I think it's just a calc.
It was on,
I mean, I could look for it.
it says page 1 of 1. I'm sorry.
Oh, also.
It's towards the end, probably.
Yeah.
Well, that's, I mean, okay,
Well,
I can look at it more, but,
Also on the Mass DEP stormwater checklist, we checked that calculations showing that the infiltration BMPs will drain down in 72 hours are provided. That's a checklist standard, and then we provided the calculations under the Mass DEP standard calcs in the appendix.
Okay.
So it is checked on the checklist.
all right. So if the peak of the mound goes 1 inch in, through the stone and 1 inch into the unit,
Yep.
why, is there any way to raise the bottom elevation of the units or use a different infiltration technology that's a little bit more shallow, so you don't have that happening?
We're pretty much as shallow as we can go.
Oh.
With these are very shallow Coltech chambers. I understand the concern, but they're designed to fill up with water. Whether it's
See, the thing...
whether it's from the mound or not, yeah.
I will be the first to admit, I don't understand everything about this.
Yeah.
But what I do understand is that you presented a graph with 4 days showing a drawdown, and then I knew there was a rule for 72 hours, and I didn't know how to reconcile that.
Yep.
That was the reason why, and, it may be completely fine what you did. The other thing is, when you're that close and you have it reaching through the stone and into the infiltration, here's my question. Could you, I think you can expect a possible substantial degree of error in the groundwater mounding calculations, that from what I understand, and this may not be 100% accurate, is that the analytical method that you use assumes that the groundwater moves horizontally.
Yep.
But-
It both horizontally and vertically. Yep.
But then there's been a later USGS model
Yep.
that you may be more familiar with this, proving that ignoring the vertical groundwater flow resistance can cause the mathematical model to underpredict up to 15%.
Okay.
So, did you incorporate the groundwater flow resistance, or did you just use the horizontal assumption?
It looks at both. And water definitely moves horizontally faster than it does vertically.
Right.
But yes, we look at the hydraulic conductivity rate, which we have at 3.99 feet per day, which is just a standard value for sand and gravel. I'll also say that a lot of times the infiltration rates are pretty conservative. The Rawls rates that we use for infiltration, sand, it may say 8 inches an hour.
Hydraulic conductivity?
It's the same thing, just expressed in different units.
Yeah.
It's how fast water moves through the soil.
It's the saturated hydraulic conductivity, right?
Yes.
That you're talking about?
Yep.
We need to get some other people
Yep.
to talk to.
I think, well, let me just say one thing, then I'll shut up.
Okay,
How's that?
that sounds, well, sounds good to me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry to run on here. The last thing I wanted to say is that it assumes that your stormwater drops straight through the unsaturated layer at a constant rate. But if you have a dry hard-packed soil that absorbs and slowly releases water over time, they have noticed that completely ignoring this unsaturated behavior can produce substantial error. And they've seen on some analysis that there could be a substantial error in what is called transient timing and peak mounting predictions. That is way over my head,
Yeah.
okay, when I was trying to study for this meeting.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
So I guess the only thing I would say is that the overall concern is that this mounting analysis shows that it's coming up approaching into the unit. If there is an error, for whatever reason, because of real-world conditions or whatever, or the way the model works, that thing could flood out. It's not that far from flooding out.
There is a substantial emergency overflow through the outlet control structure to the municipal drainage. And, not for nothing, but we design our pipes, even the municipal ones, for 25-year storms. So if there's a 100-year storm, which is about 2 to 3 months of rain in one day, everything's going to be flooded.
Right.
So we design the systems for the 100-year, but it's not always perfect. But I mean, we designed this for 8+ inch storm.
Right, which
is substantial. I mean, the rain we got on Monday was like 3 inches. And
Right,
you got to remember, Massachusetts averages between like 3 to 4 inches of rain total per month. So we're talking, 2 to 3 months of rain in one day.
All right, Mr. Chair, sorry for running on.
But no, I appreciate it.
But I have some substantial concerns about this.
Okay. Sarah?
I don't really have anything to add.
Kent?
Very good, very good.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure, yes, please.
Where was my first question here? Okay, my first question was what storm? You answered that already.
Yep.
Will adding more chambers and infiltrating more runoff reduce and possibly reduce the flow to the wetlands and affect their health perhaps?
No, the wetlands shouldn't be affected at all over the previous version, because right now, if you remember, the parking lot flows in a pipe underneath the existing building and out to the wetlands. We're completely eliminating that.
Well, I shouldn't have said just by adding the chambers, by adding any infiltration system.
Yep.
A pre versus the post.
Yep.
Shows thousands of cubic feet of runoff reduced.
Correct.
So
that goes into the ground.
I mean, when that ground flow is going to feed the land.
That's the best way to feed the wetlands, is to treat the water first with a water quality unit. You drop all the sediments out from the parking lot, you float the hydrocarbons, the water basically in between those two levels discharges into the infiltration system. The infiltration system, in this case, is above some nice sandy soil. It's going to recharge that groundwater table, which eventually will make its way to the wetlands, but it's treated and it's flowing through ground and soil first. Whereas right now, there's just a pipe that is untreated that just goes under the building and out to the wetlands. So you want to treat that first, eliminate that point source and recharge the groundwater naturally. It's going to be the best option.
Although it appears that the runoff is reduced by thousands of gallons, it's actually still going to the wetlands.
So there's the runoff that goes to the municipal system. That's what you're looking at. Then there's what's called the discarded runoff. That goes into the ground and it never makes its way into the municipal system. So that's the loss of the thousands of cubic feet to the ground.
Okay, you want to move on to another topic now on your list?
Could I
Yeah.
just?
No, sorry.
Oh, please, no, go ahead,
It's
Eileen,
maybe
please.
connected, and it may be not.
Yeah.
Sure.
One last question.
Absolutely.
You got when you did your test pits, you had quite a lot of fill, like 30 inches, 50-something inches.
Yep.
But these are massive test pits, sorry, not test pits, these are massive chambers and lots of gravel.
They're only 2.2 feet tall chambers. They're about
Okay, so
pretty small.
presumably though, you're going to have to remove all that fill because you can't infiltrate in the fill. I'm just wondering what you're replacing it with. I'm not sure it was mentioned.
So you would remove everything down to the bottom of the system. You'd infill first with the crushed stone base. You put the chamber on top, you put crushed stone in between it, and then you would use, what we would call suitable fill on top of that to bring it up to grade. It might only be a foot or two, and then you'd pave on top of that. So all that fill's going to get removed.
All the way down to, like, one of them was 58 inches down to,
I believe we went through this last time, and we had, the bottom of the system was something like 2 inches below the bottom of the fill.
okay, so it's all coming out and being replaced by either chambers or stone?
Yeah.
Got it.
And they also tend to over-excavate a little bit, so if the bottom of the system is 6 feet down, they might over-excavate to 6.5 feet.
Sorry if I repeated the question.
No, it's okay. I remember that from last time, too, and that we had just...
Oh, I think
just
we've
did-
asked a lot of things twice.
Yeah, no, that's...
Like that we asked before.
It's been a few months, so I'm happy to go back over
It's
that
only April, you forgot already?
Yeah, when you continue, that's what you get.
month after month.
All right.
So the next item that we responded to, we had been requested to prepare and submit a long-term prevention pollution plan describing O&M measures intended to minimize pollution generation and protect groundwater and surface water quality. We did provide that LTPP in Section 2 of the drainage report. Section 2 is the operation and maintenance report, and you can find that on PDF page 20.
I thought overall that OPM was very extensive and very well written.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Yeah, we definitely take do a detailed job on the both the drainage report and the O&M plan. If there's no more questions on the long-term pollution plan, we can move to revising the O&M plan to include routine inspection and maintenance procedures for the proposed isolator rows. So we did provide the O&M information for the isolator rows from the manufacturer. For those of you who don't know, the isolator row is basically a strip of non-woven geotextile that goes in where the stormwater comes in, and it just helps to sit the sediment in one concentrated area so that when they clean it out, they can just factor one of those, multiple lines of chambers. It makes it easier for maintenance without having the sediment go into the crushed stone at the bottom of the chamber where it can clog it up and reduce the infiltration rates.
Okay?
Response 6, provide additional discussion regarding phosphorus removal performance where BMPs have limited separation of seasonal groundwater. So we did provide the phosphorus removal calcs. They're pretty detailed, but basically we need to meet a minimum of 60% reduction, which is the standard. We achieve approximately 64% phosphorus removal. And that's achieved just by attenuating or holding back the stormwater in the infiltration system below the elevation of that lowest outlet.
I have a quick question about that one, if that's okay. I actually have no concern about phosphorus removal because you're infiltrating.
Yes.
I just wasn't able to follow the calcs. Where did do you have that?
I'm looking at it right now.
Where did the P load of 2.79 come from? It looked like it was a back calculation or something.
I think that was on the next sheet. I wish I had the Excel open.
Oh, the Excel?
Oh, it's for a commercial use based on the acres.
Oh, do you mean it's from like
It's on the
the crosswalk thingy that EPA provides?
Nope.
No,
it's-
because that's the 1.78 up there.
Right, that's the phosphorus load by land use in pounds per acre per year.
Yeah.
What you do is there's 3 different kind of uses: commercial, open space, and forest on the site. You get your phosphorus load by land use, whether it's by commercial, open space, or forest, and then you multiply. That's that's your calculated load. So we calculated that on page 1 of the calcs. That's your land use. That's your load by land use. Then you multiply that by the acreage, which in this case is 1.57, and that gives you the 2.79. It's on page 2. If you look at page 2, you'll see the calc. Sheet 2 of 2.
It was 2.33 acres. Got it, okay.
So it's the acreage is broken out by use, and then you multiply that by the load rate to get that
You
2.7.
do have right at the top of that table, you do have the breakdown of commercial is 2.33, I see that.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll look at it.
Yeah, look at page 2, because it's almost like you have to calculate it further down, and then you have to go back to find that 2.79.
All right,
of where that came from in the third table down.
On the whole, though, just given that it's infiltration, I don't really have an issue with.
Right, that's-
I know it's going to do it, I just wasn't following the calculus.
Nope, I completely understand, and infiltration is the way to treat for phosphorus. If you do have a detention system, you need to use like an upstream unit, like a jellyfish unit or something that has those cartridges for phosphorus removal, but.
We just discovered that recently in a different project.
Yep, yep, yep. So moving right along here, so that was the phosphorus. Evaluate the feasibility of routing rooftop building 2. We discussed that building 2's been eliminated. Develop and submit a snow storage and management plan identifying designated storage locations and associated BMPs. We did add sheet C107, which is the snow storage plan. And the management of snow is also discussed in section 2 of the drainage report, which is the O&M report, beginning on PDF page 25. There was another question about clarify the long-term condition and function of the existing gravel infiltration drainage areas that are existing. There's no plan to touch that. That's not part of the project.
You have a question
Those are to remain as is. Yes, please.
We wanted to ask about the snow storage.
Sure,
It looks from
absolutely.
your picture that there's like this crosshatched
Yes,
region
yes.
that's abutting Wilmington Road that's will have a gigantic berm of snow. Is that the plan?
Well, that's what they do now. They plow the snow up to the front because honestly, it's the only space available on site. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull this up. Yeah, so basically the gray area, the gray hatched area is what needs to be plowed. The area with the hatch, like the kind of cross hatch, is the area that we'll store it in. And if you look at note 3, we basically say the plan depicts 56,000 square feet of snow to be removed and 3,700 square feet of area available for primary snow storage, assuming a 5-to-1 compaction and an average snow pile height of 3 feet. Site is estimated to accommodate a 1-foot snowfall event. In the event snow becomes a hazard to the daily operations, it needs to be removed. So basically, that's enough to accommodate a 1-foot snowstorm.
And does that go like, isn't there like a plan to have like plants and stuff in that region which has the snow berm in it? Is it gonna like maybe go into some of the parking spots?
So we did increase the parking. So if you go out there today and you look at on any given day, there's only about a quarter of the spaces are full. So the parking use is pretty low. We did eliminate building B. We have, or building 2, we have building 1. There are some shrubs and trees in that landscaped area, but I mean, that's our primary snow storage area.
So it'll be piled right up against the sidewalk.
It'll be close to the sidewalk, yeah, between the curb and the sidewalk. I think also it's important to keep it away from the wetlands because of the, the snow melt and sand. So that's where we're putting it, and it's where it's stored today.
I'm just thinking, when it starts to melt, you could create icing on the sidewalk, I mean, it's,
Yeah,
I
typically.
agree, there's not many ideal spots to.
No, there's not. I mean, every sidewalk should pitch to the roadway. It should be pitched usually 0.5% or 1%.
Yeah.
And there is catch basins in the road. But yeah, I can completely understand, pretty much any site is going to have something like that.
Okay.
Any more questions on the snow storage?
No, I mean, you see what it is, and not much else we can do about it, I don't think.
That's the spot on site, and again, we're not really increasing the size of the parking lot significantly, and that's where they store it today. It really hasn't been an issue. Develop a long-term invasive species monitoring management strategy. Andrew covered that. Provide additional clarification regarding the proposed grading activities. The grading is extremely minimal out here. It's very flat. We're not significantly changing the grading in any way. Most of the grading will occur in the existing paved parking lot.
Okay, I have a question. Look
Yes.
along in here, we missed number 9 here. the-
Number 9.
In function of the existing gravel drainage located behind the buildings.
Yep, so, yep.
Those are the pipes that come down and just dump out onto the gravel road, right?
Correct, yes. That's how the building currently drains today. There's no plan to change that in any way.
It does pond somewhat there. We drove through it yesterday, and there was some ponding several days after the rain, but that's obviously still going to drain into the ground. My question is, not so much our purview, but if it's ponding there on heavy rains, is it actually ponding in the play area as well?
It's a good question. We haven't had any issues with it. We haven't, not that I'm aware of, there hasn't been any issues with the exterior daycare playground in the back. I think when I was out there, there weren't any roof drains in that specific area. They're spaced pretty far apart, maybe 50 or 100 feet.
Okay.
And the play area is significantly smaller than that.
None of them actually drain into the play area or even through the...
Not from what I recall in my site walk, but we haven't had any complaints about that.
Okay.
And typically, having a son who's in daycare, they don't go outside when it rains anyways.
All right. That completes the list of questions that you had written here.
Yes, that was everything that I had written down from our April meeting.
Okay, do we have any outstanding questions that we still want to ask tonight? What I've got so far is that we are going to, hopefully, the applicant will select a leak detector contractor and plug that leak, and then we'll see what happens in the next week or two in the hot summer weather, if it dries up completely or not. And at the next meeting, we would decide if we were convinced whether we do not need a peer review or we still want to get one. What else?
I'm just thinking on the invasive removal, where we typically monitor plantings for 2 years and things of that nature. I'm wondering if we could sort of develop that into, say, at least up to 2 years after project completion, that there will be a contractor hired to remove the invasives that first 2 years.
So similar to plantings and monitoring them for 2 years.
Similar to planting, and I mean, we can ask the owner if he will agree to that, yes.
Okay. Ash, you maybe can forward that question and see if that's something that's feasible, just to...
Yeah, similar to last meeting, we're writing down your questions as you guys have them, so we'll discuss that with him, and we'll make sure we discuss that next meeting.
Okay, 2-year invasive monitoring.
Invasive
Okay.
management for 2 years after project completion.
So just to clarify, I just want to make sure I understand it right. So what we have right now proposed is, as construction initiates, we would go back out there and remove them at this point. So would that be 2 years total, or whenever the project's done and we're out of the area, 2 additional years after that?
2 years after the project's done is what I said.
Okay.
It can be negotiated.
Sure, no, of course. I'm not, I want to make sure I understand your questions when I discuss it with the owner of what we can do. I want to make sure I
Right,
understand
just-
that. I'm going to write down your questions as you have them, and then we'll make sure that we discuss and come back and have a good conversation.
Do you mean just monitoring, or do you mean continuing to go back in?
That he'll hire a contractor during the first year and the second year to manage, to mechanically just pull anything that develops
So not just monitoring, it's
Right.
Maintaining and
extended.
monitoring.
and maintain, because it comes back so easily. But if you go after it the first couple of years, it may last for a while.
Right.
You can buy a lot of time if you have some multiple successful removals.
Right. That's the reason. I said.
And sometimes, I will say that the invasives that have less of a density, so out here, you have a ton of bittersweet, you have a ton of rose, but there's a couple random sparse Japanese barberry and burning bush. You can often eradicate those if you find a couple sparse ones and get to them before they spread. So you can also see a reduction in the diversity of invasives, which also has a net positive just through those efforts.
Okay.
I wanted to make a comment on this.
All right. Yeah, back to that.
Okay, at the last meeting, when you weren't here, one of the abutters showed up. And unfortunately, he came after we announced that this wasn't going to be heard. So he sat there for quite a while, this individual, and he wanted to tell us about the reeds and so forth. And we tried to stop him. I guess we did stop him, maybe somewhat abruptly, but the problem is that, okay, he has the right to let anybody speak, the chair. However, it's, as you may know from Conservation Commission hearings, it is very risky, because if there was any conversation at all, or even if there wasn't, okay, it could be seen as a one-sided discussion where you weren't here to hear it. And so that could be the basis on which we are superseded by the Department of Environmental Protection. They issue their superseding order, and what the project gets and what the residents get may be very different than what you're going to get with local control. We may be just completely overridden. And so, if not, we could possibly end up in court. So we, just so you know, we ended up stopping this individual, and he was pretty upset, and I understand why. Because he had waited there, and somehow we didn't manage to ask him, why are you here? We didn't do that.
Yeah.
That was our fault. We should not have done that, and, you know, if he's listening, he has our apologies for that, okay? But if we let him go on, and if we made any comment, that could be the basis for DEP intervening or taking the commission to court, and that's a problem.
Yep. Understood, and also thank you for letting us know, having not been at the meeting or unaware, so I completely understand. It's difficult for the commission to manage that. There's a lot of items on your agenda, there's a lot going on, so we appreciate that. And understood.
We have made some corrective actions regarding that. This gentleman showed up after we had announced in the beginning of the meeting what was not going to be heard. So
Yeah.
now we're posting it outside the door and posting on social media if things are canceled, so hopefully more people are aware ahead of time and don't show up with expectations that they are not going to
I
be
mean,
able
so
to meet.
the poor guy was sitting there waiting, expecting to say something, and he waited a very long time, and then we said, no, you can't say anything.
And I understand the frustrations,
That was-
you offer your night up. and you come.
I'm sure that was very frustrating for him.
Okay.
Thank you for
Speaking of
telling us.
public comments,
I have one clarification,
sorry.
real quick. Did we cover the native plantings, our revised planting schedule? Did we?
We mentioned it. and
We mentioned it, and there was a question that there may still be some cultivars.
We
on
said
the-
that it still says Tuja occidentalis nigra. I mean, it's still cultivars.
Which one, the American, sorry, I go by the common name, American Arborvitae?
I'm actually making it bigger myself.
And
anything that has a parentheses in quotes
Okay,
means it's a
so
variant.
the American Arborvitae and the DeGroote Spire
Sharing it
Arborvitae,
so we can all see.
Shamrock, so anything that's in quotes, okay.
Yeah.
Because I have to relay this to my landscape architect
Right.
and have
Yeah.
him fix
So,
this.
so basically, you did increase the numbers of a couple of natives.
Yes.
Thank you very much. There was one
Yes.
that was removed. I'm not sure why. I don't remember what it was. But those ones that still say Niagara or DeGrootes or
Yes,
Shamrock, can we just have the straight native, please?
Straight native,
Yeah.
not the cultivar.
Yeah.
Okay, that might have been an oversight, maybe there was some confusion there.
And the north.
Yeah, sometimes there are native cultivars that are just selectively bred, but they're still native, so we'll make sure that they're true natives, no quotes, no names.
That is our preference, but also just for, I know that some of these are outside our buffer, and I just wanted to say that the planning board also requires natives, so.
Okay,
It's
fair
not
enough.
just.
We'll
Then it should be done
adjust
either
that.
way.
Yeah, my apologies for the oversight. I'm glad that we discussed that, though.
Okay, thank you.
Larry, you have another comment?
I'm not quite sure how we're going to resolve the issue of that mounding analysis. I mean, my understanding is that in the 100-year storm, the ideal mounding analysis, which should show like 1 feet below the very, below the bottom of that stone layer, and that gives a measure of safety. So if the mounding is showing that it fills up the stone layer and goes into it, and there's any degree of error in the calculation because of unknown reasons or the way the calculation is done, then this makes failure of that infiltration system highly likely. So I'm wondering if we're getting if it's agreed to, we're going to get a peer review, should we have someone just look at that calculation? And
If I may?
please do.
I mean, it's supposed to, we're supposed to be able to store water in the system. Like, it's supposed to be able to hang out in the chamber system above the stone layer. The problem, then the reason it's the 72 hours is because you don't want things like mosquitoes, et cetera, to be able to like get in there and like have a home. And that's why the DEP standard is such, but they're showing, and this is with all chamber infiltration systems, is that water can sit in there for up to 72 hours. We see this in residential permits as well. When they're O&M plans, they're supposed to monitor and make sure that the water drains out from the chambers themselves within 72 hours. So for the water to go up and sit in the chambers isn't a failing of the system. That's the system functioning as designed. And I feel confident in their in the way that their overflow directs to the municipal structures. I don't feel very concerned about any kind of system failure given the mounting analysis personally. I would agree that from what I was seeing with the modeling, there's only going to be crazy backup in the 100-year storm theoretically, in like a theoretical world when the whole world is flooding. But in something like the storm we had the other day, like it would be totally fine. And also it's still definitely going to be an improvement on the current conditions. And that's the biggest thing. And they do show that. They show a significant reduction with rate and volume. So I think what I'm maybe understanding is there might be some confusion about as to what the mound is. But the mound is created by the water from the buildings in the parking lot going into the ground. So it's supposed to sit there.
I'm hoping you will clarify this point for me,
Yep.
because I am unclear. It seems to me there's two things happening here. There's water from above running down and hanging out in the chambers. I totally get that that's supposed to work that way. But then I see another factor of like the groundwater rising up and then peaking in a mound and like leaking up through the bottom. Is that like a
It's not
separate, different?
peaking in a mound. All the water is going to be happening, like water's infiltrating during a storm anyway, and that's part of how it works. The mound is exclusively, am I right? It's, as far as I'm concerned, from the fact that we're pumping more water in that one spot. So we're seeing a rise there because we're putting water in one spot instead of like a natural system where like all forest, all trees, all grass, whatever, it's all going to come down and infiltrate in a layer.
That's what I,
So it's infiltrating water that's building up.
That is
Goes
my
through the
understanding.
chamber into the ground and then builds up from there.
So I think that the word mound can sound really scary because we're like, oh my God, all this water's going to swell out and explode into the street. But it's all chamber systems have a mound of
Okay, that's very
sorts.
helpful.
That's what we've created that space for the water to sit there in that volume. If we didn't, then that mound would be in the roadway.
Yep. Does that make sense? The water flows into
the
the
image of a
chamber.
perched water table is coming to mind, except this is an unnatural one. Would that be a good?
Yeah, I mean, the water flows into the chamber and starts to infiltrate immediately, even though more is coming in, and that infiltrated water builds up on top of the
Yeah, yeah,
existing and doesn't flow horizontally as fast as it does vertically.
This is the
the
groundwater
other way
level.
around.
This is, I don't agree. This is the groundwater level rising up 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day.
From what?
From the groundwater. The groundwater is right
It's,
here. down here.
it's not the groundwater rising up.
What's that?
It's not the groundwater rising
It's
up.
it's the temporary
It's-
mound.
It's the water to be infiltrated. It concentrates sort of in the center because that's where all the water is coming in. At the sides, you have areas around the system where water isn't infiltrating. There's existing pore space for it to go out. But basically, it goes out faster around the edges than it does in the middle, is a good way to think of it.
To me, if the mound shows it's coming within, filling up the stone, and that if there's any degree of variability or error in what a calculation is only as good as the model, and it can only approximate it so much, I think it's a margin of error that makes failure more likely.
Right, but-
If you were showing that it was 1 foot,
Yeah.
okay, under that, on 1 foot under the bottom of that stone, then you'd have some degree of freedom regarding any error in what you're calculating or designing.
I would-
That's all I'm saying.
I
No, I
would say
completely
that,
understand.
and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if there was 1 foot below the stone in the 100-year storm theoretically, then there's no reason to have the system there, we could just be pumping the water straight into the ground, like into the dirt. But we are creating that pore space for the water to go.
Well,
I think at the end of the day, the Mass DEP stormwater regs are very clear on the mounding analysis. They lay it out for you. We've put together like a comprehensive calculation, and at the end of the day, the DEP regs say that at the end of the 72-hour drawdown period, after the 24-hour storm, the mound should be 2 feet, there should be at least 2 feet of separation, and we've provided those calculations that meet those regulations.
In addition to
Okay.
that, there is a significant reduction both in the volume specifically, because we're talking about.
Even though after 4 days, you're showing no unfilled space below the bottom of the unit.
No unfilled space.
At 4 days, you're right at the bottom of the unit.
Barely below it, yeah.
So I have a
Well, no, that's 2 feet below the bottom of the system. It's 2 feet below the bottom of the crushed stone.
Right.
That
That's the bottom,
Hold on.
that system invert is the bottom of the crushed
wait
stone.
1 second, maybe I'm, hold on 1 second
What we
here.
said earlier.
You get on the right page. Where's that page? So, sorry, the system invert. Correct. Okay, so sorry. Right, it's just below the bottom of the system invert. So it's showing that the system is,
After 4 days, there's no space beyond, under the thing for the water to infiltrate into. It ends up right at the system invert.
right, so that means,
Right at the bottom of that stone is
Yep.
where that groundwater mound is.
yes, that's exactly right.
If you had one showing 1 foot, I'd say you'd have, if anything is wrong with the calculation, any potential degree of error, which I understand can happen, then you would have some degrees of freedom so that it would work more properly, but
Yeah, I disagree. The stone gives you 2 feet.
I think
Water's still now
after
2 feet
72
below the
hours,
chamber.
no, the standard is 2 feet below the bottom of the stone.
after 72 hours, the water is out of the system.
That's
Right, so
protected
the
from
system's
getting into the chamber.
empty and ready to be refilled again.
Yeah.
Whether there's water below it or not.
Yeah, that's not the standard.
Okay, all right. We've discussed a lot about that mounding. I would suggest this. If you have further questions about the mounding, put them in writing, and we'll submit them to, and address them at the next meeting. 'cause
Yeah,
it's
and
very
I'm
technical.
happy to address those
That
questions.
would be great. It's very technical, and we need time to absorb it, but we also have people who perhaps are waiting here to speak from the public. So, with that said, is there anyone here in this room or online who has heard about this project and would like to speak? Ma'am, no?
Yes,
Okay, yes, Mr. Alessi,
Mr. Alessi, yes.
you are
It
recognized.
was a very interesting meeting last time. So I have like four issues here. One, that corner part where that cat and nine tails are, you're saying it's coming from a public pipe coming into there that's filling up that area.
Yep.
If that is the case, there should be a shut-off in the street for that pipe. The town does not just put pipes there and just end them. They have to have a shut-off there. Okay? That's number one. Number two, Mike, who owned the property prior to the new owner, put hard pack in there. And you can see where the hard pack is. So he filled in watershed property in there. And so the size of that area really doesn't matter because he filled it all in. If you go underneath that hard pack, you'll find that that's all watershed underneath that hard pack. Okay? What do I know this? We've been on the property for over 100 years. Okay? There's underground streams throughout the entire property. You can dig down, I can show you areas where you can dig down foot, 2 feet, and be water bubbling up. Okay? Third part is where you're gonna put the snow. You said you're gonna put the snow in front of the property. Now, I've been living on that area, in that area for 40 years. My wife's been there for 63 years, and her parents have been there for over 80 years, okay? They put all that snow on the side where that new building is. That snowpack was at least 10 feet high by 15 feet wide. And that's on a normal winter. Last winter, it was a little bit larger because we had a lot of snow. That was probably about 15 feet high. You're telling me you're gonna block the traffic on Wilmington Road to Burlington, to Proudy Road, so people can't see the oncoming traffic? No, that snow has to be removed completely, every snowstorm. There's no way that you can block that, put that snow there. There's no way. And the third thing is the discharge from the existing building goes into my property. I thought you guys were going to connect the existing building to this new system you had here, but apparently that's not going to happen because it's not connecting the two buildings together.
Can you
So
explain that a little
when
further?
you say in 72 hours that water will decrease, I don't think so because that water there's underground streams coming in here. And the gentleman was talking about water coming up through the ground. Yes, water comes up through the ground, not just coming down.
Mr. Alessi, where are you saying the water is coming onto your property from this plan?
Well, the existing property, the existing buildings, all the water goes onto my property because he has his downspouts shooting off into my property.
The back of the building?
You go back there and walk there, and you can see all that water from his top of his buildings go right off into my property.
So that's behind the building onto the stone driveway.
That's all behind, all the entire building.
I think the plan, the hope is that that's going onto the gravel driveway and infiltrating.
That's not gonna happen. Look at his plan. His plan, the existing building is not connected to the new system at all. And what are you gonna do with the snow?
The rooftop.
That snow is a factor, it's a major factor, it's a safety factor.
Okay.
I mean, if you're watching the planning board, you had 40, 50 people there arguing how treacherous Proudy Road is and Wilmington Road is, coming together. There have been deaths there at the corner. In May, there was a death there.
Traffic is.
There have been numerous deaths on the road.
Traffic is not something that we can address here. That's a planning board issue. Snow pile and the part of the plan is something we can address, and they'll take that under advisement and see if there's some way to come up with an alternative arrangement. It's a good point you make. Okay. We're making note.
Well, no. The snow and the safety are combined together. You can't put snow in front of those buildings. How are you going to get out of the parking lot?
Okay, you made your point.
If you pile snow there, how are you going to get out of the parking lot?
You've made your point, and we will have them try to come up with some way to address your issue.
Well, the snow won't be on the roads, though. The snow will be on the, like,
I think they're worried about sightlines, but either way, that's not a
Yeah.
Conservation Commission issue.
Is there anything else you want to address, Mr. Alessi? We're taking.
Okay, and that pipe, you're going to have the town go in there and check out that, but the pipe should, the engineering department should know exactly where that pipe is.
Yeah, we do, we surveyed it. The water line, you're saying?
So, and where's that pipe go? It just stops right there?
The water line runs from the main in Proudy, plan east to basically the Dunkin' Donuts. Our plan before we knew about the water
So
line.
you had two water supplies going into the building?
Well, the plan before we knew about the water line leak is to basically replace that existing water line in kind with a slightly larger pipe. So I think it was a 6-inch that's feeding the existing building. We're basically going to remove, the plan before this water line issue came up was to remove that 6-inch and replace it with an 8-inch line that also has a hydrant off of it. So we were going to remove and replace that anyways. Maybe now it becomes an emergency repair and we kind of move that work up on the schedule and replace it with the 8-inch line, as part of an emergency repair if the DPW and leak detection determines that it is. But we were going to do that anyways.
Okay.
After we received.
And if our
Okay,
plan,
are you saying that the property has two water lines coming in, one from Wilmington Road and one from Proudy Road?
Let me double check the survey.
I think one point to consider, Mr. Alessi, is if we just shut off that water, you're shutting off water to at least one of the businesses and maybe more. So.
Yeah, but
We wanted.
the town does not supply more than one water line to a property. It only supplies one water line.
There's also an 8-inch along Wilmington Road that goes towards the daycare.
That's exactly correct.
That's an existing condition.
So there are apparently two water lines shown addressing the building. Now, why? I don't know. But if it does feed a business there, you can't shut it off and wait a month to see how it reacts, if it dries up. So, which was kind of our plan. So the ideal is that they quickly get somebody in there, to find the problem. If it involves shutting it off and patching it, they do it, and then we see if that area dries up.
Absolutely.
That's the plan.
Agreed, thank you.
All right. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Alessi.
Thank you.
And we won't-
Appreciate it.
We won't ignore them.
And I'll investigate the EEP too. Thank you.
Good. All right. Anyone else online? No. Okay, so we have some issues to look at for the next meeting. No, she said no.
Yep.
It involves that leak detection and repair, and obviously
Yes.
seeing what's happening. But there were comments about snow piles And if there was some other place to store the snow, I'm looking at it perhaps saying just pile it right in the middle of the parking area and sacrifice some parking spots, like many places do during the snow, and if it gets to be inconvenient, then you tow it away.
Yep, agreed.
So, and he made a comment about the existing buildings draining onto the pipes out back. Why wasn't it connected to the drainage system? Just something that you may want to address or comment on. I'm not sure if it can be corrected or fixed or whatever, but we don't have a problem with the way it's set up in terms of it appears to be draining and infiltrating through the gravel.
I would agree, and we fixed the major issue, which is the parking lot draining directly to the wetlands untreated.
Correct. But the drainage coming off of those buildings towards his property is unchanged. So I can understand he's not happy with that. But there is between those buildings and his property,
There's a substantial filter buffer. There's
yeah,
that
and there's the
gravel.
wetland buffer there too.
It's pretty substantial.
Okay,
It's not like we're discharging right onto his yard. They discharge off the back. There is a wetland.
He owns 0 Proudy Road. He owns all that wetland back there.
Yeah.
It is his.
I own all that property,
Yep.
all of it.
behind it and to the right of it, all that wetland.
I have another, like, just thing I'm going to throw out.
Sure.
there. Shoot it down in flames. You'd have more space to store the snow if you made the building shorter. You'd keep some of those trees, too.
Possibly.
Just throwing it out there.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I think that the answer for the snow is on large snowfall events, it'll have to be removed. It can't be stored near the driveway. One thing I don't think I touched on is that we did move the driveway plan right further away from Proudy Road at the recommendation of our traffic engineer, which I think is a good change. And yeah, we'll
Okay.
take a look at the snow.
all right, you've had some suggestions, you've had some questions.
Yep.
You've taught us a lot this evening, I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you for your time as well.
We haven't seen before in a long time here. So, I think we'll see you probably a month from now then, or,
I think that's exactly what we'll
August
do, and we'll plan to
13th.
report back with Eileen as soon as we have updates as well. We'll be in touch.
okay.
On that water.
Continue?
So can we have you want to continue to the next meeting then, right?
Yes, please. Yes, your next meeting.
Which is August 13th. Can I have a motion to continue the project at 85 Wilmington Road, DEP 122734, to our next meeting on August 13th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? 400. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your attention as well, sitting in the audience there.
Thank you all very much.
Yes, thank you for your patience and time tonight.
Okay, oh, I got something we got to sign. Next up is planning board comments, is that right? Yep.
We will just update the planning board as to generally what happened tonight with 85 Wilmington Road. They knew we were meeting. We'll just give them
Okay.
two updates.
This'll help.
And you need to address anything with them about the demo permit at 11, whatever it is, 8,
Nope, they don't deal with single-family home residential properties.
okay, so this would go to what, the building department?
Yes.
And you'll notify them or ask them or whatever?
Well, sorry, what was? It's kind of in Lucy's
It's on my
court anyway now, so
Okay,
I don't need to tell, it's in our online system. The thing can't be issued until I give the check off on it. Everyone has to check it off.
Okay.
And so I hold up a lot of things all the time by not checking them off, because I need permits, et cetera.
So yes, it will be dealt
Yes,
with, but
yeah.
not with.
Not directly.
Separate
Okay.
comments.
Any subcommittee or staff reports?
No.
Think so? Any other business? You look like you have something to say, but you
Nope,
don't want
I
to
don't
extend the
have
meeting,
anything to
okay.
say. Well, there's that.
Okay, so then our next meeting is August 3rd and followed by September 10th. We'll get a few weeks off in between those two. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.